We are very excited and grateful to have a wonderful Sufi teacher, Dr. John al-Qadir Davies, with us today. al-Qadir is visiting associate professor and co-director of Partners in Peacebuilding at the University of Maryland's Center for International Development and Conflict Management, co-founder of the Masters in Peacemaking Program at the University of Spiritual Healing and Sufism, and director of the Living Peace Program at the Farm of Peace. His lifelong passion has been to create avenues to communication and peace, and he has led or partnered in peace-building initiatives in over 25 countries. He's been a consultant to U.S. governmental departments, as well as international governments and organizations. He uses integrative mediation, spiritual practices, and coaching methods to help individuals, couples, families, communities, and organizations to walk through conflict situations, and leads classes, retreats, and workshops for those seeking peace and reconciliation at all levels of life. And I'd like to add that from my perspective, al-Qadir is a master at listening to what appears outwardly as conflict, and with the greatest gentility, civility, and compassion, leads people to the central truth within themselves and enables them to see that same place within others. His teaching today is Living Peace Now. al-Qadir, welcome and thank you for being with us today.
Well, thank you, Pat Abdullah. I really appreciate the invitation to be with you and to be with the whole group that you've gathered of Sufis really interested in the issues of peace and conflict. And I'm looking forward to being able to join you for the workshop in later this month, and to working with those of you who would like to go more into the experiential aspects of this whole area of teaching. And, I once asked Sidi, where are your writings and reflections on peace and peacemaking? And this is early on, I hadn't had time to maybe read one or two books of his, and I hadn't found a chapter called Peace or Peacemaking, although I knew that peace was so fundamental to his teachings. And he said, wherever you find teaching on the love, there's the teaching for peace. And so that's, I've held very close, and it certainly spoke directly to my heart in terms of what I was looking for in being able to take peacemaking deeper than I'd been able to before. And more recently, I've been struck more and more strongly about how it's not only love, but what love opens up for us, which is the experience of unity, both within our own hearts and with the people that are important to us. And the core of it, the unity that is alive in the divine essence, in Allah, in all that is, as a conscious, intelligent, creative, and sustaining force in our lives. And of course, no description matches the reality here, but just to give it some of the qualities that help us to become more aware of his presence in our lives, and in the lives of our communities and families. I started out in peacemaking, really wanting to be able to have an impact internationally. And I was very generous. I was able to work in many countries around the world, and to really play a central role in bringing peace out of war in some of those countries. And but after a time, I talked with Sidi. So I've been invited to go back to Pakistan, which is one of the places I've been working. One of the more challenging places I've been working. And I'd been invited to go back and to work in the Northern Territories, the tribal areas, where, along the border with Afghanistan, which, as you can imagine, a few years back, was not a great place to be hanging out. And, a lot more turmoil there than there is even now. And so I thought, I'd better ask Sidi before taking this one up. And he said, my love, you can have a bigger, deeper impact for Pakistan through making peace in this country. What you can accomplish in this country will reverberate around the world. And this he's talking to all of us. He was wanting me to really be able to focus on the applying the knowledge, applying the teaching into peacemaking in this country. And the outward political connections are obvious. That the US has a key role to play in Pakistan and hasn't been doing a great job of it lately. But if we can help to deepen an appreciation of what peace is through experience as well as understanding in this country, then this has a direct impact. Firstly, on ourselves. Secondly, on those immediately around us. Third, on the whole consciousness of this country. Is what he said, focus on this country. And fourth, on the world. Because, Sidi says we start with peacemaking one heart at a time, one home at a time, one family at a time. And because the government is not in charge. The government reflects the hearts, the consciousness, the fears, the beliefs of the people. And so it's by changing our own awareness, by bringing peace, living peace in our own lives, that we have the most profound impact on the world around us. So the mistake is so often that this is too big for me. What can I possibly do for Pakistan? What can I possibly do for the US, for that matter? But this is to underestimate Allah's gifts for us. That, Allah says we carry the spread out earth, a true copy of Allah's creation within our own hearts. And that spread out earth includes all of the earths, all of the heavens, the throne, the footstool, every aspect of reality we contain within us. There's interesting research that some of you may know that when two people are loving each other, whether as friends or neighbors or beloveds, as parent and child, in whatever sense, if we're really opening our hearts to another, connecting with another from love, then what happens routinely is that the two hearts start to resonate together, start to beat together. And that corresponds with this objective experience of each participant in that connection, that they're not separate from each other, that they are coming together, and in that relationship, they are having a single experience between them, a shared experience, that an experience of unity. This is why the path we're on is the path of the love, because this stepping into love as the ground of our everyday life, our everyday living, opens the unity for us. Whenever that unity opens between two people, it means that Allah is present in that relationship. And so it brings us closer to Allah through the love. And the same thing happens between us individually and Allah, or us as a community or a group and Allah. When our hearts are together, we turned toward Allah, then it's as if our heart is beating in resonance with Allah's heart. And so He opens Himself to us. This is a little bit different from the traditional metaphor of the mirror, that our heart mirrors the divine. Our soul mirrors the divine. So perhaps we can update that metaphor a little bit. That with the heart turns out to be a means through which we connect. And the heart here in its expanded sense, the energetic heart that is several times bigger than the body, extends out beyond the body, connects with other hearts. It's when those two fields meet that we feel someone else's presence. We start to connect with them. And so that resonance happens through field dynamics locally. We don't have to see each other. We don't have to touch each other for it to happen. And the same thing with Allah. So that as our field opens, is receptive, surrenders into His presence, then our heart attunes to His heart, aligns with His heart, if you like. And so we begin to see no separation between our will and Allah's will, between our love of Allah and being loved by Allah. He asks us to carry us in His heart from love, to make that a sacred place for worship, for a place of intimacy with the divine presence. And in return, He holds us even more deeply, even more beautifully in His heart. And this is the Rahim, that He responds to our opening, our connection in kind, but that it ramps it up to a different level as He responds. His response takes the relationship to a different level. And so what's happening here is a unity between me as subject and my partner, my friend, my God, as the one that I'm connecting with. But what happens is that difference between subject and object of perception, of experience, disappears. We're both subject and object in relation to each other. We're both subject and object in relation to Allah. And so it's inevitable, because Allah can also be thought of in the metaphor of a field. He says that our souls are aspects of His soul, that as His soul is unbounded, universal, that so our soul can align with that and awaken to its unboundedness. And so that we start to transcend just being subject, just being observer, and recognize the oneness between the two. In physics, that there's a abundant evidence coming out of quantum physics, particularly, that you can't isolate an object separate from a subject. There is no object independent of the subject, according to quantum physics. So, for example, light. It's made up of photons, little, very tiny particles of light. But those photons don't exist, can't be recorded, except when there is perception. Someone observes them. Then in that moment, and the experiments have been done over and over again, the light, the reality of the light that is recorded shifts from being a probability wave function, no particles there. At the moment of perception, it becomes observable, measurable particles. Okay, and only exists in relation to that perception. So if we perceive its location, we can't know at the same time its spin or the precise speed at which it's traveling, because light varies in the speed of travel depending on the medium that it's going through. And so it's just many different ways in which science, as well as our Sufi teaching, and really ultimately all the major spiritual traditions, recognize that at the foundation of existence, there is a field of unity without boundaries that is intelligent, awake, conscious, and that we can align with or connect with at any time. So this unity is the core of what is meant by peace. It's in terms of the stations of the walking in the way of the love, in the Sufi way. It's not until the fourth station, the Nas al-Mutma'inna, the soul at peace, the soul at rest, that we experience peace, and it's in this station that we really step into living unity. And this is the station that opens with the fana, the what's the word? The annihilation of any sense of ourselves as a separate being, other than the divine. That rather, as we look in, as we deepen our connection with Allah and start to know ourselves more deeply, that we find ourselves less and less able to separate ourselves from Allah, not to mention less and less willing to separate ourselves from Allah. So this is where peace comes. When we realize that the deepest, most private, most personal, most beautiful space in our own heart, our own soul, is also the most beautiful, intimate space in the soul of everyone else. It's when we're at our most private, personal, inner experience, this is the time, in fact, when we're most connected with those around us. So as we connect to this place through our practices, through our loving engagement with people around us, that connection, bringing that awareness to that place of unity in us, which is the essence of us, of who we are, resonates in the hearts of, particularly of those that we're close to, though either physically or emotionally, but also more broadly, all those that we might be holding in our heart. People that we're praying for example, if we hold them in our heart with love and pray for them, then as we surrender that prayer to Allah and drop into that place of deep unity, deep connection, letting go our separate self, then that prayer becomes Allah's prayer for them. Okay, He honors us in that way to uh, empower us to be conduits or messengers of peace, not just through what we say, but more deeply through how we live and breathe every day, how our heart beats, how our soul opens or not in relation to the world around us. So So with the law, one of the mistakes that people make, I hear over and over again, is that they're saying, I don't have any experience of Allah, I don't have a connection, I can't find him. I'm just saying Allah, 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 and that's it. I feel a little bit relaxed. I feel a little bit more at peace, but where's Allah? And this is a mistake, because what we're doing in that situation, what people fall into, is going to the habit of separating subject and object. Allah is somewhere out there, probably way too far away for me to ever reach. Yeah, I'm small, I have limited capacity. I can't compare myself to any of the saints and prophets that have given me this wisdom and teaching. And so this is where we make the mistake. We set up the veil through our belief in our own separation. And so this is where peace only comes when we finally drop all. We drop the last of those veils through the fila. And so this is the core of peacemaking, that we find the peace, and we do it through recognizing we're not separate from Allah. Allah is not out there only. He's everywhere, which means most intimately he asks us to find him and to hold him right in the center of our own heart. And so that means Allah is us as well as him, that we are more fundamentally him than we are anything other than him. And so recognizing that we look in, not out, for Allah can change the experience rapidly. So when we use the qualities in our practices, for example, we often make the mistake of asking for Allah to show us his love, to show us his generosity, to show us his kindness, his mercy, his compassion, his help. And when we're doing that, again, we're separating ourselves. So the prayer needs to include that we ask for him to show us his qualities in us, to strengthen our capacity to carry and to express and to live those qualities in our own life, so that we ask not to receive qualities from him, but to be the qualities which are given to us as part of our fitra, part of our innate nature as a human being. They're given to us as our authentic inner self, our soul. And so to be able to ask for that to be awakened is, again, at the center of peace. So what I'd like to do tonight and at the weekend, for those of you who'd like to join us, is to look more deeply at the inner work for peacemaking, as well as looking at how we bring peace into our relationships, family relationships, relationship with our beloved, or a beloved friend, or colleague, or brother or sister. And how we can break the patterns that have been socialized into us of thinking of ourselves as separate. Too often when I see two people in conflict, I hear them saying, well, look, I'm hurting, and this is because of what the other did. And so even implicitly here and gently, there's a statement of blame. I'm powerless here. I can't be at peace because the other has disrupted my peace and taken it away from me. Okay, so this is the place of separation where we make ourselves victims. We make ourselves disempowered and therefore dysfunctional in relationship. And so the peacemaking is a way of taking back our power, taking back our strength, and to do that in surrender to the divine, because he's our source of strength. That if the other has been a conflict that has been stressful for us and we feel drained, it's because of the getting caught in that place of separation where we're no longer drawing on Allah's strength and Allah's love to be able to nurture this relationship back to health and to nurture ourselves back to health. And so in the Quran, Allah says that He makes us people and tribes so that we can come to know one another. Why? Because we are mirrors to each other. So as we come to know each other, we come to know ourselves. We come to be more capable of fully living what we're capable of living. And as we discover who we are, we also discover who Allah is. Not separate from us, not residing somewhere far away, but in the most intimate place within us. So on the weekend, what I'd like to do is to be able to do see what conflicts. Actually, we can do the same tonight, just at least in discussion, to see what conflict situations you've found most challenging in your lives, because that we have to. One of the ways in which it's important for us to shift our understanding of conflict is that conflict is not a breakdown. Conflict is built in as an essential element of our lives, an essential element of our walking. It's through conflict where we feel that somehow it's just not possible for someone else's aspirations to be satisfied at the same time as mine is satisfied, that we both can't come out of this where we want to be. And so this seems like a reasonable description of reality from the place of separation. But from the place of unity, we start to see things differently. As we go deeper, we start to think, we start to look at what's behind those aspirations, what one person wants, what the other person wants or desires. And we see, we look more deeply into what is moving in their heart and what's moving in their soul. And we start to get a different perspective in what's going on. Instead of wanting something that we might disapprove of, we can see, start to understand why they're looking to that better. Maybe it's not a wise choice, but it's the best choice they can come up with in the moment. And so we start to shift from blame and putting this person at a distance as other than us, to start to find empathy for them, start to find our hearts resonating with them as we start to understand where they're coming from. And we start to see where the deeper needs of the soul are not in conflict. By nature, our souls are not in conflict. We're all unique expressions of the divine soul. And we all carry the divine quality, the extraordinary beauty of the unity and of the love that takes us to us is that that unity reconciles all of the opposites among the qualities. So Allah is a dar, the harmer, as well as a nafia, the beneficial. He's the al-muntakim, he's the avenger, the punisher, as well as the one who pardons everything, al-afu. And so he reconciles these opposites. That divine avenger, if we want to use that word. Another way of maybe translating it would be the divine mirror, mirroring back to us so that we can understand what we've been putting out. So we can discern and begin to understand ourselves more deeply. But if we understand that the al-muntakim is completely in harmony with the qualities for love, for compassion, for mercy, for kindness, for caring, for generosity, all of these beautiful qualities are there in al-muntakim. He's the one we turn to as the one who judges us in the final day, al-hakam. And why are we comfortable with that? How do we get comfortable with that if we're not comfortable? It's when we realize that the only one that we turn to for judgment is the one that is pure love, pure mercy, and who creates and sustains us through that love and mercy. And because of that love, holds us accountable so that we can be consciously striving to fully express what we're capable of being, both in ourselves and through our loving relationships. Okay, I think I have to stop there because we'll run out of time very quickly, and I want to be able to open it up and take this conversation whichever direction you want it. What situations are you, or are there things that I've said that don't make sense to you, for one thing, or that don't agree with your understanding so far? Is there something that I haven't said that needs to be clarified? Is there a situation in your life that you'd like help in working through? How to walk through a situation where the other one doesn't want to deal with it, for example. Okay? So whatever your questions are, whatever your situation is that you would like to get help with, you please unmute yourselves and go ahead as you're ready.
Feel free to unmute yourself if you're on a phone, *6.
It's open mic. So whatever comes to your heart.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Can you share your name?
Najma.
Najma, alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum.
I think perhaps family is a good place to start.
Yeah. Yeah. The conflicts we were raised on, right?
That and just how alliances can shift amongst siblings
Yeah.
over the decades.
Yes. Yeah.
And you've given me a different way of viewing one of the most difficult one I'm in right now is with my oldest sister.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate that idea of looking deeper into her soul's needs as a way of, even if the conflict was cruel and harsh from a judgmental point of view, that, like you said, she was doing the best she could.
Mm-hmm.
And that is beautiful because it softens it for me. And I think that that's a place I need to go.
Beautiful. Good. Yeah. So, um, yeah, alliances are what we form to protect ourselves in a world of separation, right? To feel safe, we need backup, right? And so, your first practice in that is with your siblings, your brothers and sisters, typically, and that this is not real defense because those alliances can shift anytime, and so your first strategy is, as you say, just go take it to Allah, go inside your own heart, and so that you find a place of connection and of unity. Instead of going for your siblings for backup, go to Allah for backup. Okay?
There's something that's very beautiful that happened for the time period we weren't speaking. I had a dream about her fitra, and it was glorious. I
Beautiful.
saw the purity of her soul, and a week later, I got my first text from her, and that was without speaking for 6 months. So it was a gift from Allah.
Beautiful.
And I know it's also a clue.
Yeah. Well, it's a clue. It's a sign of the connection that happened between your hearts at that time.
Yeah.
That you're seeing her fitra, you're seeing her deep soul, self, her authentic being. And so you touched her from love, in love. And so that return from her, that reaching out to you, is Allah's affirmation of your connection with her, with connection on the soul level. So beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I was going to say, of course, that's the next step. Once you've made the connection inside to the deepest place in yourself, then open from there into connection with the one that Allah has put in front of you in order to help you open your heart in the most difficult direction or in the next difficult direction that you're ready to open. And this expands you, it expands your reality. Instead of being dependent on backups or on erecting defenses, those defenses melt. And so your world expands. And the love connection between you is able to expand and breathe. So beautiful. So being able to write back and to connect back through your heart with her to be able to keep that love moving. And one person at a time is a very noble way to create peace in the world. And of course, peace in the family. So beautiful.
Thank you.
And then you follow your guidance in terms of relationships with your other sibs and others around you. And, alhamdulillah. Good. Wa alaikum salam. Who is that?
You should go. My name's Faiza. I came in late, so I just kind of got just a last tidbit. But I heard you say something about our souls are not our souls are not at conflict with each other. And that all of the attributes, from what I understood, all of the attributes of our soul are not in conflict with God.
Okay. Could you say your name, please?
Faiza.
What is it?
Faiza.
Faiza. Okay.
Faiza.
All right. Okay. And so so you said that all of the you heard the statement that the souls are not inherently in conflict with each other, and
Right.
and then you're looking at the different qualities and thinking, well, these don't seem to be. These do seem to be.
I'm wondering what about attributes such as selfishness or greed? Are those then separated from the soul, and those are something from?
Right. Yeah. So
what you're saying is something like, well, Allah is the punisher, and He's also the most merciful. That's not in conflict. But what about attributes that are not that we have that are not necessarily attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
They can be in conflict, absolutely. So if I'm arrogant and you're arrogant, then we could very easily have a good little fight, verbally or whatever, right? Or if the thing is, the qualities that come that are not divine qualities are not inherent in the soul. The soul qualities are what come as we clean the heart of the lower qualities of the nafs. So that's selfishness. That's putting yourself ahead of everyone else. That's putting yourself above everyone else. It's wanting to be able to make use of other people for our own ends, rather than loving for them what we love for ourselves. All of these are qualities that we develop in the world of separation as we experience it in our journey through this world. When we're not in connection with Allah, we're journeying toward Allah, at least, if we're in the first station of the nafs. But in that state, conflict is going to be a very challenging central aspect of our lives. It's only as we get into the higher stations, we start to experience love, then we start to find places and relationships where that conflict disappears, at least for a good amount of the time. And as that expands, then it becomes the world of the soul, where we start to find that inherent unity between our souls and other souls, and between our soul and the divine soul. And that's when we start to see, when we look at someone more deeply, we look what's behind their position or their actions in the conflict, as to what's going on in their heart. What are they feeling, and why are they feeling that? Maybe they're feeling upset, angry with us because they needing trust between us, and that they heard something about me, that indicates that they can't trust me. Okay, so okay, now I know what's going on. We need to be able to clear up what she heard that led to mistrust, and see what's going on there. See if there's something that I did that maybe unintentionally was not fair to that person. And so I need to be able to take the initiative in being able to recognize my part in that and make the table open to the reality between us and begin to rebuild trust. So the making peace, finding peace, is the journey from the nafs to the soul each time, and ultimately to the secret, the unity, the ultimate unity amongst all of the qualities and amongst all of the aspects of Allah's creation. All the opposites get resolved. Even the opposition between the shaitan and the angels, or the shaitan and the prophets. When Aisha asked Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "What about your shaitan?" When he'd made a comment about, "Oh, here's your shaitan," when she was getting angry and upset, he said, "Well, what about your shaitan?" And he said that with Allah's help, that we have walked through that relationship, and now he's completely in service to me. That my walking to be at one with Allah freed him to complete his journey to Allah. So even that extreme opposite is integrated in the unity of Allah. Shaitan is not outside Allah. He is one of the people walking to Allah, or actually, in the sense that we all have a shaitan, he is one of the many walking to Allah. And we come together at the same time that we, at least when we move through the fana. Okay, so we not only serve Allah by walking to Him and opening to the unity in Him, but we also serve the law, serve the shaitan, serve the deeper soul self of our shaitan, who has fulfilled his role with us by testing us and seeking to pull us away from the unity. And if we pass that test, we step into the unity, then that frees him. He completes his task and gets the reward for that. Okay. Does that help, Isa? Is there more question to be answered there?
Yeah, yes, thank you.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. And we can spend a lot of time on each of these questions, but I want to be able to take some time to respond to a few, and that'll give me a sense of the places that we might go when I'm in Minneapolis. I've got a whole weekend to work with.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Akeem, is it?
Yeah, Akim, yes. Akim.
I'm not hearing you very well. Can you speak up or turn up your volume?
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me now? Assalamu alaikum.
It's a little better.
Okay,
do you have a volume control on your computer, or?
I'm using my smartphone, and let me.
Okay. All right. So if you can just be.
Okay. First of all, thank you for the. I like and I enjoyed the talk on this topic, living in peace now. So all the talk, I think they are a great talk, and I have benefits from all the talks. Now, my question, or what I think I want you to shed more light on, having explained that the part of Sufi is a part of peace, and the word like peace, love, mercy come on and on, which is a very good thing. Now, my question now goes to the word enemy. I could not see any word like enemy in the talks. That may because enemy is opposite of love, peace. So now, I'm thinking that now, after Allah have given her this part, we shouldn't think of anybody as our enemy. I'm thinking that you should not think of anybody as enemy. That is, everybody you have to make peace, resolve any problem. So can we completely say there's no enemy? That is my question. And the second part of it is there are some people that maybe they don't want to accept us. We're trying to make peace with them, trying to do all the possible things that we become friends and there's no problem. But they still say no. How can we achieve to make complete peace with this type of people?
Mm-hmm. Okay, good questions. Your enemies are available in abundance if we're living in the world of separation, right? Because we can see anyone that we're in competition with as our enemy. Anyone who has aspirations that don't seem to fit with our own can be seen as an enemy. But there's also a whole range of different enemies. And what I want to emphasize is that we're talking about the walking on the way of the love that allows us to deepen our experience of connection, our experience of love, our experience of oneness with the world around us. To the extent that once we've been through the fana and we're established in Nafs al-Mutma'inna, that this is the reality. There are no enemies. Okay? Shaitan is our servant, our friend. Okay? Because he has been helped in his journey by us. Through disobeying him and obeying Allah, we help him. He fulfills his purpose and receives the reward for that. So this is the enemy. Now, however, short of the fana, we don't sort of just take this as a daily mantra that there are no enemies, there are no enemies, there are no enemies. Already in saying that, we're focusing on the enemies, right? And so this is a whole different state of being than being in the love, being in love. Okay? So that makes us more open to for someone to embody that thought for us, to act as an enemy toward us. Okay? So we don't take a grand leap. Okay, I've been the journey of my life so far has been that this is a violent world, and I'm surrounded by people that I can't trust, that are not open to love, are not open to peace with me. So I don't sort of make believe, or well, this is not their real self, and if I approach them nicely, then I'll be safe, and this could become a loving relationship right away, or at least not one that threatens my life. And so there's two ways we can approach them. One is internally, by choosing to pray for them. Okay, so we go deep, we connect with Allah, we find that place of intimacy, connection, love with Him, and then we ask for His mercy to create peace here between us. Okay, and then surrender that prayer to Allah. Trust His wisdom in how He responds. Okay. Now, at the same time, you can ask for guidance from Allah. How do I work with this person? What could I say that he could actually receive and hear for what it truly is? Not simply brush it away in distrust and continue to be aggressive, right? Ask for guidance. If you get clear guidance, then you can make a different approach to the person, right? If not, hold off, okay? Continue to go deeper, right? And then if you do get guidance to connect with them, what you're looking to do, even before you speak, is connect with their heart, okay? From a place of love, so that their heart can be eased even before they may be consciously aware that love is flowing toward them, right? And then you check in with them. What is in their heart? What are they feeling? Is there an opening here where I could say something more? Where I could greet this person, invite them to have a cup of tea, coffee, whatever. And then again, listen to your heart. Is there an opening? And if there is, alhamdulillah, go step by step, one step at a time, testing, alert, awake, holding on to the connection with Allah for guidance at every point. You connect with how they're feeling, connect with the need, the yearning that's behind that need, behind that feeling. Okay? If he's angry, why? If he's sad, why? If he's despairing, why? What is it that he's really, what is his soul needing that he's not getting, and therefore he's fighting because that's the best strategy he can think of, it seems. Okay? So you're exploring with him like that. But what we don't do is try to out-tough him, to respond in kind. If he's being aggressive toward us, to fight back. Okay? Now, if he is coming toward us in an attack, it's fine to defend ourselves using proportional means, right? We don't sit there and allow ourselves to be injured. We can defend ourselves. Okay? If it seems that this is not going to be stopped to us, again, go for guidance. Allah will guide us if we need to defend ourselves. We trust Him. And so, I found myself in this situation often enough in my life. Working between people at war with each other can be a little risky at times. And working with terrorists, working with headhunters, working with people that are accustomed to everyday violence. You have to be alert and awake and really clear on Allah's guidance and the protection that you have. And not be too arrogant to accept protection where it's needed. From, for example, at times I haven't been allowed to go places in Pakistan. But the government would not let me go unless I agreed to have some military person or police person with me. And so eventually we agreed that, okay, if you need to do that, that's fine, but be always unnoticeable. Be at a distance from me so I can talk with people without them feeling that they're talking with an agent of the military. Okay? And so use your common sense, but the real guidance comes from Allah. And so be cautious, you know, but be, you learn to trust Allah's guidance. It might seem risky at first because we're not used to it, perhaps in a certain area of our lives. But we have to try it out, okay? Step by step. And you'll gain confidence as you go. Does that help?
Very helpful. Very helpful. I like it. I understand. Thank you very much.
If you can't find that sense of connection with the person, and all you can see is their threat to you or as an enemy, then okay, all you can see is shaitan, so you keep them at a distance. You take as wide a berth as you can, okay? Wise advice, right? But if you're looking for something deeper, you're looking for what's more real in him beyond the shaitan. Okay?
Okay.
And when you can find that, then you've got an open door. It might be just that you're invited so far in as far enough to be able to talk with his nafs. Okay? Maybe he's open to a deal. That might be a first step toward peace. Okay, that's progress. Yeah, and he can learn of an experience which builds trust between us, and that allows the next step. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
So Pat, I think we're over time already. Are we supposed to finish at this point?
We are. Should we take one final question?
Okay. Do we have a final question?
This is your chance. If you wish. This is a good opportunity.
You know, don't be shy. If there's a question in your heart, yes, yeah, Nazma.
It's a question and a comment. One thing I've noticed that during a heavy period of stress, I tend to be more reactive. And can take things personally. But on a deeper level, I feel like Allah is inviting me to develop more of my divine qualities, which I think is part of this quest for peace.
Beautiful. Yeah, so these are times of when we're tested. When there's heavy stress, then we're being stretched more. And we have fewer resources from our own body and mind. And so if we've been relying on body-mind, this is a good signal from Allah. You know, my love, turn to me. You connect with me. Rely on me. Okay? So the scary situations or the stressful situations are also the places where, you know, when Allah tests you, He's showing you a door, right? A door to Him, a door to peace, a door to love, a door to fulfillment of your journey. And So that's why that's how things begin to change for us. Instead of seeing the world as a dangerous place with many enemies or potential enemies around, we start to see the gifts of Allah and the care and the mercy of Allah in what He provides us. And so He stretches us within our capacity to respond. And that may make us aware of the ways in which we've got into a habit of being reactive, right? And so we get feedback and, oh, well, it didn't work. Well, it didn't help. So then we're more conscious of what Allah is really calling us to. And so each time we walk through the fire, it's like, like invites us to sit in the fire of His love. And the fire of His love is what we actually, walking is a better metaphor than sitting here in the fire. But sometimes it takes a little time. We need to sit where we are and be able to reconnect and then start walking again. Okay? So it's the fire is a place where makes us fully alive. It helps, it creates the conditions in which we can purify ourselves, purify our heart more quickly, and begin to turn to Allah more urgently for His guidance and support in being able to do this leg of the journey. So yeah, beautiful image. Thank you. Each of these things that look like a real, oh no, this is not going to be a good day, right? These are, if you shift and look what's behind it, it's Allah's love, putting us in situations nicely a nice gradation, so that we can not be overwhelmed by it, at least not for long, and to be able to find a way to be able to access the strength that is available to us, the soul level from Allah. So it flows through us, the wisdom that flows through us from Allah, the love, the mercy, all of these are our supports, our resources in each relationship. Okay, so heavy stress itself is a sign from us from Allah. It's a time to look for a place where we can rest as well. Make sure that we're getting the rest we need, so that we feel enlivened again and capable again. So you'll know what to ask for at the time. Do I need rest now? Do I even have the opportunity of rest now? Or do I have to really find my way out of this fiery place first? And then you're just asking for strength, asking for guidance on how to speak and how to connect with this person, how to find the place in them that you can connect with from your heart, and build from there. So what we'll be doing on the weekend is doing some role playing, where people can share some of the experiences that they're living, and other people have the opportunity, if they're not present in the room already, to play the role of the other in a particular conflict situation. And or we can do role reversal as another way of helping people find empathy, find an ability to step into the shoes of the other and feel what it's like to be them, and can help us to be able to connect with the other's heart. And so there are a lot of different tools that we can experiment with that help us toward reconciliation and creating peace and love and mercy, all of the good things where they've been missing. Alhamdulillah. Thank you all for your questions and for your being here. It's a pleasure to connect with each of you, and I look forward to seeing you again in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, Abdul-Qadir, for the gift of being with us today. And Dr. Davies will be in Minneapolis for the weekend of February 23rd, 24th, 2019. If you're watching this, the information to get further information or to register is in the chat box. You can also, if you're watching this as a recording, you can see it in the description of this recording. And at any time, you can always Google Sufi Center, Minnesota, and the information will be there. So we look forward to being with you, Abdul-Qadir, and welcome anybody that wants to participate in that workshop coming up.